Hey everyone, long time no see. Wanted to start out this tutorial by first of all apologizing for the audio quality. I'm using my headphones with the built-in microphone. I'm working on my laptop. I rarely use this computer, so not everything is going to be super polished. But for this tutorial, I just wanted to really quickly show you a workflow to get awesome textures on your Blender models using 3D Coat. It's super simple and incredibly fast. So 3D Coat, if you don't know, is a sculpting and texturing application. They have this stripped down version called Textura that just does texturing. So that's an option too. It's much more affordable than the full version of 3D Coat. But 3D Coat is incredible, and I feel like it doesn't get as much recognition as it deserves. So anyway, let's go ahead and get through this. This isn't meant to be like really a step-by-step tutorial. I just kind of want to show you how quick you can do this, okay? So in Blender, I have this skull model that I downloaded from Blender Kit. Just downloaded this female skull, and it's from Alexander. I can't pronounce that last name, I'm sorry, but it's a really great model, and it comes with a good texture on it, but I actually removed the texture because I just want to do something completely different. All right. So to make this workflow work, you want to have the 3D Coat add-on, and I believe it ships with Blender. So if you just type in 3D dash, it'll come up and you can enable it, right? And all I did was enable that add-on, and everything just worked flawlessly right away. If you have problems, I would suggest going to the 3D Coat forum, but for me it was just absolutely perfect. Okay, so to do this, you want to send your model from Blender over to 3D Coat and then just grab it back when you're done texturing, and it's so easy. So you just select your model, and in the 3D Coat add-on over here in the end panel, you have all kinds of options for sending it over. You can, sculpt in 3D Coat. You can UV map in 3D Coat, whatever you want to do. But in this instance, we're going to send it for per pixel painting. Just going to click that and give it a second to think. Okay, and I think it should be done now. So we're going to open up 3D Coat, and you automatically get this pop-up, and it's going to bring the model in. Okay, because 3D Coat has this really good automatic UV unwrapping, I'm going to do that. Okay. And everything else here, I'm just going to leave it default. 2K texture is fine for this. UV set name, that's the material name. We'll just leave that as material. And we'll hit OK. And we'll give it a second. Okay, cool. So it brought in the model. And for texturing in 3D Coat, you have all your tools over here. And you have the ability to choose what channels you want to paint on. So you can choose just painting color. You can paint roughness. It says glossiness, but in this workflow, it's roughness. Depth, like normal maps and stuff. So I have all of those enabled. And what I want to do is I just want to start painting this guy with some of these really cool smart materials over here. These all ship with 3D Coat. You can buy more on like Gumroad. There's some guys that sell them and stuff. So they're really cool. So what I want to do is start out with one of these metal materials, and when I start to use this 3D Coat, in order to make these materials work, it needs certain maps. So it needs an ambient occlusion map sometimes, it needs a curvature map. So whatever maps it needs, it's going to automatically bake for me when I start using the materials. So I'm going to choose this metal material here. And you see that it's baking what it needs to make that material work. And you'll see a layer added over here when it's done baking. I already did this once before just as a trial run, but I don't remember exactly what materials and stuff I used. So we're going to kind of start this from scratch, and hopefully it looks cool in the end. All right, so it baked the cavity map. That's all that material needs. And I'm using the fill tool, and I'm just going to fill this whole object with that material. You get this really cool little preview window here, and if you open that up, you can see what that material will look like on the model. So we could do, see that now this material here also needs an ambient occlusion pass, so it's automatically baking that. It's really cool that you don't even have to think about it. It just bakes what it needs. And it doesn't do this every time. Once those two are baked, we're good to go. Okay, so can go ahead and see what these different materials look like. Super cool. You know what, I can't remember what my original version looked like, but I might do this a little different. I like that kind of goldy steel color. Well, goldy color. These names might not match up with what the actual material looks like because I customized some of these. So let's go with that, and I'm just going to go ahead and click on the skull and fill it in. And there you go. You have this really cool material on there. Looks super cool. So that's layer 1, and we'll just call that base. I'm probably not going to name all these correctly, so let's just do this quick. I'm going to add another layer down here, and let's go ahead and put a paint on top of that. And I have some pretty cool scratchy paint materials here. I love that one. And you can resize this window if you want to see what it looks like on the whole thing, or if that's too slow, you can make it smaller. Really, really cool. So let's just cycle through a few of these. That one's cool. Yeah, you see the thumbnail of this paint doesn't match up exactly because I actually customized that one a little bit for a different project. But oh, that's cool. I like that, but I'm going to go with this kind of gunmetal paint. I think that's what I used in my trial run. So I have the new material, or the new layer selected, and I'm just going to fill that material right on top. And it's so cool because it has all this, you know, kind of edge wear and that kind of stuff in it, right? Which is really, really neat. And you can double click on these materials and you can actually adjust all of that. So if you have your smart material open, preview window open, you can adjust all this, and you can even, you know, change the color. You can change how all of the edges are worn down and all that kind of stuff. It's super customizable, which is awesome. I love how that looks already, so I'm not going to mess with that. But let's go ahead and add some more stuff to this. So I'm going to go to this leaks category, okay? And here's one that I already kind of customized and saved. So let's add another layer, okay? And this will be for the spatters that I do it. And I took this material, this paint blob material, ships with 3D coat, but I wanted to customize it to look kind of like a blood splatter. So I just opened this up and I changed the color. Okay, I mean, that's so quick and easy. It's awesome. I love it. And I changed some of the other settings in here, and I created, cancel that, I created this blood splatter, okay? So not only did I change the color, I kind of changed the amount of spatter and stuff that shows up. And again, you just have to kind of get in here and mess around with these settings. Super easy to do, super awesome. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just fill that, okay? And just to show you that you don't have to just use the fill tool, you can also erase pieces of the layer. So we can go in here and let's say we don't want all that blood splatter inside of the eye sockets. You can just go in there and erase it. You know, if for instance there was a part that you didn't want any of this gunmetal type paint on, you just go in and erase it. It's really, really flexible, really awesome. All right. So we got our blood splatter, we got our gunmetal paint. Let's go ahead and why don't we look at some dirt too? So I'm going to add another layer. Should be naming all these, but again, I'm just trying to make this not too long for you guys. So we'll go back to our fill tool, bring our smart material thing up, and let's just go ahead and look through some of these. That one's cool. I really like that dirt, that second dirt that I clicked on. That one's cool too. I like how it's kind of filling in the cavities. Yeah. Why not? Let's just go ahead and add that. Now, another thing that you can do that I maybe should have mentioned earlier is, depending on the size of your object, for instance, if the frequency of these details or the size of the blood splatters was something that you didn't like, you can use these tools up here to adjust the texture, right? The size of the texture, the position of the texture, all that kind of stuff, okay? So I'm going to, in this case, all the scaling looks right to me, but you can, move everything around and really fine-tune the placement of your smart materials up there. But everything looks good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and add that dirt. Okay. And I accidentally, it doesn't really matter for this, but I added that to our blood spatter layer there. Oh, and I also undid the blood spatter. So anyway, this is so quick, so we'll just go ahead and we have our dirt there. We'll just go ahead and add the blood spatter back real quick. Another thing, I don't know if any of that was my fault. This software is, they really overhauled it for 2021, so it's a little bit buggy from time to time, but I think it more than makes up for some of those annoyances with just the speed of it, So anyway, all looking good to me. I think we're good to go with the skull. So let's go ahead and we're going to get this back in Blender. There's a couple ways to do this, but I just go to this file, open an original app, and then I haven't tried out just the regular cycles preset because there's one here that's called App Link, so I just use that. We don't need the emissive texture over there, and we don't need the displacement texture over there either. So this is where you can kind of customize all of your maps, right? And then you just hit export. Give it a second to bake all of those texture maps out. Looks like it's done. And we're going to head back in here and let's go ahead and turn our material preview on, and all we have to do is click Get Back and give it a couple seconds. Let it compile all the shaders, and there you go. It looks perfect. It's so easy to send back and forth with 3D Coat. If I wanted to make any more adjustments, I just go back to 3D Coat, make the adjustments, hit Get Back again, and we're good to go. Look at how awesome that looks. So let's go ahead and let's take this a step further. That's the basic workflow, so you can stop watching now if you want, but let's go ahead and make a little rudimentary stand for this guy. And I'm just going to make a really basic model here. And there's our stand. I'm just going to make sure I have all of the scale and all the transforms applied there. So we're just doing a little rudimentary stand there. And let's go ahead and send that over to 3D Coat and get it textured. So I'm going to hit send again. If I go to 3D Coat, it's going to give me an option, to merge it, new scene, whatever. I'm not worrying about saving this because this is just an example. So I'm just going to say new scene, don't save. And we'll bring it in, and I'm not going to keep UV. I'm going to auto map again. And maybe we'll just name this material stand real quick. And we'll hit OK. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this guy textured up real quick. Let's go ahead and make the base of the stand a wood. And there it is again, baking the maps that it needs. Okay, go to the fill tool. And I really like that wood actually, but let's go ahead and see. Oh, that one's not bad. I mean, this is just so quick and easy. It's, ooh, I like that. All right, let's go ahead and fill that in. That's cool. So what I did was it's filling based on the object. These are three separate pieces. So I can fill each one of these, and you have more options with how you fill and paint on layers that I won't go into. There's any option you can think of is pretty much available. Okay, so let's make the pole here a metal. Baking the occlusion pass, which is cool. Okay, so that'll probably work. Let's see what else is up here. There's a lot of materials here. And like I said, you can buy more on Gumroad and stuff, and you can make your own. Okay, so we'll do that there, and then what if we did like let's see what that looks like. Okay, I like that. Okay, we'll do that there. Whoops. Okay, so we have all of our materials on there, but let's go ahead and, you have options here for doing like scratches and stuff, and a lot of these will look like metal underneath, so that wouldn't really work great on the wood base, but it looks kind of cool on these other pieces. So maybe I'll add some scratches to that piece. And then let's see, options for rust, which I guess could look cool on the metal. Yeah, not adding a whole lot, but let's go back to dirt and maybe dirty this guy up a little bit. There's the one that I used on the skull, which I think looks really good. There's also dust down here, so you can add like a layer of dust on top of the objects, which is just so cool. Ooh, I like that. I like adding that dust. Let's just go with a layer of dust. Okay, so, I mean, look at how cool those textures look, and that took me just a few minutes. Alright, so I mean, that's just awesome. Alright, so let's go ahead and we'll send this back to Blender again. We'll go to Blender App Link. Again, we don't need emissive, we don't need displacement. I'll keep the rest. Export that. Get back. Oops. Get back. Okay, so I'm hitting the get back here, and it's not working. And I think that may be because when I sent this to 3D Coat, I kind of changed the material name. That's my guess, but it's really easy to fix anyway if this ever happens to you. I didn't intend for this to happen, but it's good that it did, so I can show you how to fix it real quick. So if that happens to you and it's not working for Get Back, all you have to do is resend the model over. Okay, so we'll send that over to 3D Coat. There we go. And it's going to ask you if you want to start a new scene or whatever. And if you just hit replace geometry, you won't lose all of your textures that you just worked on. So we're going to hit replace geometry. And then because I did the auto mapping the first time, we'll just do that again. And we're not changing the UV set name this time. I have a feeling that's the mistake I made last time. So we'll hit OK. All right. There it is. We reloaded the geometry, and we're just going to go ahead and send it back to Blender again. So we'll hit export. And I'm just realizing that I didn't change the preset here. We're going to go to App Link. We don't need displacement. We don't need emissive. And now we'll export it. Let it bake the maps. Now when we go back to Blender and we have that selected, we say get back, and it loaded the materials in just like that. Now, how awesome does that look? So cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and just move this up, and then just as a little bonus here, we'll use our Vera Light Studio add-on that's available on Blender Market, and we will go ahead and just pick kind of a moody looking studio setup here. Let's see, these are kind of cool. Maybe we'll try this one. We'll say setup studio. We'll go to K cycles to see what this looks like rendered. Oops. Back to K cycles. Turn off our overlays. And that's looking really cool. And we can go into our plane here. Make that black. We can add more side lights. And we can start to put together a really cool render of this textured object. So anyway, probably went a little longer than I intended to, but that is in a nutshell the basic workflow using 3D Coat to texture your models. Again, you know, it's just so fast. I could have gone through that in just a couple minutes. You know, it was a little slower kind of talking about the different steps, but man, is that a fast workflow, and it's so much fun, and you get really cool looking textures. So that's it. You know, go check out 3D Coat. It's really cool, and I think it deserves a little more recognition. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.